our life-giving star, Sol. This is our sun's size compared to Sirius. This is Pollux. I said Pollux. This is Aldebaran, Princess Leia's home star. This is Rigel. He's let himself go since Farscape. This is Beetlejuice. I can't think of a worthy cultural artifact to reference for that one. And this is the AI bubble. Guess what this episode's about? Again. Hello. Do you think Ed Zitron ever sees the sunlight? I mean, he seems spot on with matters regarding the state of the so-called AI industry, but I'd still be leery of inviting him over the threshold. I'm so glad I'm not a pasty-faced beanpole saddled with an English accent, or any self-awareness. The large language model is the AI mode the tech industry has hung its hat on. Hip 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 hooray, and you can see the comprehension slowly forming on the tech bro faces as they realise the hat stand they've hung their hat on, hip 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 hooray, not only has no clothes on, but was just a figment given the illusion of form by virtue of having so much cash dumped into it that by pure momentum they believed it could become a real boy. Or, more accurately, try to have us believe it could become so while we hang our wet laundry from their noses. To explain the AI bubble as simply as I can, then imagine a handful of technology companies owned by businessmen / eugenics, transhumanist, Nazi enthusiasts that have one shiny dollar between them that they borrowed from a investor, and they make an agreement to circulate this dollar coin amongst themselves. One silver dollar changing hands. And as the books show financial activity, thus revenues, investment can be leveraged against this to attain real-world assets. And yet, at the end of the day, the only physical thing being built is a bunch of repurposed video processing cards with planned obsolescence and a heat profile that would make a marshmallow nervous. Gaming cards put to task inside a hastily constructed warehouse in an area where marginalised people lived, and, because the electricity grid can seldom provide enough power to run the thing, mobile gas turbines are shipped in and deployed with the resultant and debilitating pollution. I can't even put a plastic water bottle on the campfire without the Environmental Protection Agency doing unspeakable things to my soft bits while screaming in my face about how much I'm going to be fined. So when it does all go tits up, that's what will be left in terms of assets, a bunch of empty concrete boxes in an underdeveloped and dirt-poor location. If you placed these technology companies on a chart and then drew the ebb and flow of the financial transactions between them, one silver dollar changing hands, then you'd end up with what looks like a diagram of a human buttocks disappearing up its own arsehole. The simplest way I can explain AI hallucinations, in this episode it's just me explaining things related to AI. It's just cold leftovers from the previous episode, really. There's no funny way to describe AI hallucinations, dear viewer, so lower your expectation, and besides, it just wouldn't do to make fun of mental health issues. I'm not that kind of Ricky Gervais. But the simplest way I can make you understand what an AI hallucination is, dear viewer, is to encourage you to take a shitload of hallucinogenic drugs while existing as a pocket calculator. They call them hallucinations, but they're nothing of the sort. What it is, in simple terms, what it is, right, is that the algorithm is predicting the next word. It's just a fancy autocomplete after all, but when it's stumped, like a cricket player trying to formulate a theory for quantum gravity, it doesn't give up, like a soccer player who saw that the referee could plainly see there was no contact and yet persisted in hugging his leg and rolling about on the ground as though somebody just slammed a fire extinguisher into his shin. Instead of throwing in the towel, it just picks option C, like you used to do on multiple guess exams when you couldn't even make an educated guess. And if you didn't do that, well, aren't you special? Well, yeah, Actually, you are. The format of the exams we took and how we might have taken them cannot be weaponized to impugn a person, but an algorithm isn't a person, so we can all have a good laugh at its inability to report that it doesn't know something, until you realise that I don't know isn't an option, it is given. We should all be laughing at the people who created it then. AI did it, as any kind of obviation of ultimate human accountability is absurd. I want to make sure we're mocking the right target. In the simplest terms, so simple a child could understand it if that child had a reasonable knowledge of the current state of the home microcomputer and gaming console industry and how that has traditionally worked, but in the simplest way I can put it, the reason you can't get a new video card for your personal computer, or that you have to pay 10 times more for computer memory now, or that there isn't a new generation of games consoles coming out is because Santa Claus saw what you did. He's ashamed of what you've been up to. But the real reason, capitalism, the real reason, is because those resources are being vacuumed up for the white elephant in those concrete boxes I spoke of earlier. Video cards and memories warehoused in a concrete box, its ultimate tomb. Turns out I didn't have to simplify any of that really, did I? It was pretty straightforward on its face. If anything, I might have made it more complicated. Basically, they need the shit they would ordinarily sell to you so that they can control the levers of production which you can then access on a subscription basis. The only problem with delegating human work to an algorithm on a pay-by-task basis is the success rate for AI completing such tasks to a level proficient with that of a human lies at around 2.5% at best, according to a paper entitled Remote Labour Index Measuring AI Automation of Whatever. That's right, dear viewer, autocorrect can't write a legal brief, it can't construct an original crisis management plan for a given situation, but what it can do is confabulate images fed to it and produce convincing video and audio which, you'll note, has little to do with solving any of humanity's problems, unless your existence depends on seeing photorealistic kittens surfing on a sea of brightly coloured jumping beans while singing "I'm too sexy for my shirt" by Right Said Fred. They know that large language models are not capable of reasoning, by the way. For all the unknown variables that produce processes within the box that defy granular inspection, it still runs rote just as a mechanical calculator would. Apple published a paper entitled, "Hey, our shitty AI can't even fathom children's game The Towers of Hanoi unless it's already seen the solution." Of course, the Towers of Hanoi problem has subsequently been fixed by showing the AI model every possible game of the Towers of Hanoi that could ever exist, which, you'll note, is learning by rote and not reasoning. It's the difference between receiving medical treatment from an interactive audiobook or getting it from a person who has absorbed the audiobook and synthesized the knowledge to apply it to new and dynamic situations, such as removing the item from your rectum that you claim there got by an act of God that you don't believe in. Large language models have hit a brick wall in terms of training data because current models have already used all the quality data humanity has produced. Every book, every journal, every research paper, every published article, the sum of all human knowledge. This amount of data was insufficient for the next generation of shit GPT or SOC or I don't even know what the Facebook one is. So what did they do? Mad cows and Englishmen baking in the midday sun. Bovine spongiform encephalitis, big in the 80s, was a disease caused by feeding cattle the ground-up remains of cattle. It primarily affected cows, but it jumped to beef eaters guarding London Tower. Now, large language models have AI-generated content in their training data, the ground-up remains of the quality data that I spoke of earlier. If you're a player of the electric guitar, then you already know this ends in a high-pitched whine that you can't wait to shut the fuck off. What am I having for training data tonight, Mum? Oh no, leftovers again. Recursive photocopying may yield less than favourable noises from users, because it leads to homogeneity in the output. You must surely have noticed that outputs look increasingly more alike than not. I don't even use AI and I noticed it. That's because I'm special, or because I've got eyes and ears, one or the other. That's all for this episode. If you made it this far, then you've only got yourself to blame. Thanks for watching. Good night.